Good morning, everyone. Yesterday I went to the bank. I sat down by the teller. It was a new teller. And I was doing my banking. And then she said to me, "What's your name? What do you do?" I said, "I'm a rabbi." She said, "Oh, you're a rabbi. Then tell me something good." I said, "Well, with everything going on in the world today, we really need to do some praying for everything to get better." And she said to me, "Well, I'm Muslim and I do that 5 times a day." I said, "Really? 5 times a day?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "When do you pray?" She said, "Once I get up before sunrise, then I pray during my lunch break, then I pray when I get home from work, then I pray a 4th time after sunset, and finally, before I go to bed, I say my final 5th prayer of the day." Well, of course, we Jews pray each and every day 3 times a day. On Shabbat and holidays 4 times, and only on Yom Kippur do we say 5 prayers. In this week's parsha, it talks about the creation of the 6 days. And on the 3rd day, God created trees, like the beautiful tree behind me. And after the Torah completes all 6 days of creation, on the 7th day, after Shabbat, the Torah says the following verse. This is the story of the creation of the heaven and the earth, the completion of the whole story. However, there were no trees upon the earth or any shrubs or grass because there was no man to work the earth. And Rashi says, what's going on? It said already in the 3rd day that God made the trees and the grass. Why suddenly does it say, after all was completed, there were no trees and there was no grass because there was no man upon the earth yet? And Rashi tells us a fundamental principle. Rashi says that God made all the trees and all the grass, but it was right beneath the surface. It was only when man was created, Adam, and he recognized that the world needs the rain to bring forth the trees and the grass and the shrubs, and only after man prayed for rain did the trees and the grass and the shrubs emerge from the earth. God was waiting for man to request the rain to bring out all of the vegetation. And here we learn a very fundamental principle in Judaism, and that is that God could have a blessing earmarked for you. It has your name on it. It's destined for you. It was put away, reserved for you, like the vegetation in the earth for mankind. But until man prays to God and asks God to deliver that blessing, God will not send it. It's not enough for God to prepare it. You have to request it and ask God to give it to you. Just like Adam prayed for the rain. And this is a very fundamental principle. Just like if you have money in the bank, the bank will not send it to you unless you request it, unless you make a withdrawal. So too, God waits for us to make a withdrawal. God waits for us to ask Him for our blessings. And that's why as Jews, we constantly pray 3 times a day, because if there's something predestined for us, we want to receive it, and we have to show God that we want it, and we recognize that He is the source of the blessing. It didn't just come by itself automatically, but only when we request it does God grant it to us, so we can recognize the source of the blessing. I want to tell you a story that happened in Israel. I heard this from a rabbi in Israel who knew the person firsthand. There was a couple that unfortunately could not have children for many years. And they tried every doctor and every blessing from every rabbi and went to every holy site of the Kotel and graves of righteous people to pray. But finally it was already over 10 years that they couldn't have children. They were desperate. And the doctors told them they may have to get used to the idea that they may have to adopt children. They can never have their own children. Well, this couple heard that on the 1st day of Rosh Hashanah, we read the story of Hannah. Hannah prayed at the temple for a child, and she was blessed with Samuel. Shmuel Hanavi was given to her after she prayed for a child, and she gives this beautiful praise to God, thanking God for her child. And we read it on the 1st day of Rosh Hashanah as the Haftorah. And he heard that there's a segula, which means like a good omen, that if you get to read this Haftorah on Rosh Hashanah, it could be a source of blessing to have a child. And so he made up with his wife that he's determined to go to the synagogue and arrange to get this Haftorah. And sure enough, he went on the 1st day of Rosh Hashanah and arranged with the synagogue and the Gabbai, who was in charge of Daliot, that he should get to read the Haftorah. And he was so excited, he felt in his bones this was going to be a good year They were going to get to chant the Haftorah. He was going to chant the Haftorah, and he was going to be blessed with a child. And as they were reading the Torah, getting closer to the Haftorah, he looked up into the women's section, and he and his wife locked eyes, and there were tears in their eyes as they waited with faith and anticipation to read the Haftorah and, God willing, be blessed with a child. Right before the Haftorah, a man in the synagogue comes up to him and says, they gave me the sixth aliyah, and my brother got the seventh aliyah. And two brothers in Jewish law should not be called up back to back. It's considered an ayin hara. It's not proper. So he said, could you do me a favor? Can you take my sixth aliyah and let me do the Haftorah? So like this, there's a kaddish between the seventh aliyah and the Haftorah, and I'm allowed to take the Haftorah. The man looked up to heaven. He was like, God, why are you testing me? I was waiting for this opportunity to say the Haftorah, but now this man asked me to switch. And he says, fine. He gives him the card for the Haftorah, and he takes his sixth aliyah. After the man went up for the Haftorah, people in the synagogue came up to him and said, what did you do? Don't you know this man hasn't had children? Him and his wife for 12 years, they were waiting to do the Haftorah, and you took it away from him? The man realized what he had done. He felt awful. He went back to the man. He apologized profusely. He said, I didn't realize that you were doing this because you didn't have children. I feel terrible. And the man said, don't feel bad. He said, we've been trying everything to have children. We went to every doctor in the world. We prayed at every holy place. And we've tried everything and nothing has been successful. Maybe this act of kindness, of sacrifice, of giving you the Haftorah, maybe this will be the source of the blessing. Well, the next year on Rosh Hashanah, they came back to the same synagogue to pray. And this man who had taken away the Haftorah comes up to this man. He said, I want you to know, all year round, I felt terrible that I took away your blessing. And so I was determined to pay you back. And so I arranged that I should get the Haftorah this year, and I'm going to give it to you so you could do the Haftorah this year. And the man said to him, it's okay. You don't have to give me the Haftorah. Because just 2 months ago, my wife and I were blessed with twin boys. And this is a very powerful lesson about prayer. The first thing is we have to ask God for our blessings. And say, God, give me, please, everything you've put away from me that you lovingly reserve for me. If we don't ask, you don't get, as they say. But our rabbis tell us another trick or a secret to getting your prayers answered. The verse says, Ani b'tzedek echza panecha. I will greet your face, God, every day with righteousness before I pray. And that's why there's a custom that you put money in the charity box before you pray. And the Talmud talks about rabbis who would go find a poor man to give charity to before they started to ask for their personal needs. Because when God sees you bestowing kindness and generosity upon others, caring for others, answering their prayers for need, and you take care of God's children, then God will reciprocate in kind and answer your prayers. Perhaps this man got his prayers answered, and he and his wife were blessed with twins because he showed his love for another. And therefore, the way to get our prayers answered is, first of all, ask. But then, always do kindness to others, especially before you pray, so God can see the way you have shown tzedakah, kindness, and compassion and love for others, and God will show the same kindness, love, and compassion to you. Have a wonderful day.